into Week in Geek, let's warm up with a would you rather question. Now, by the way, this is something that you'll see a lot of in our nerd therapy episodes. That's just a lot of fun little philosophical conversations, weird questions, all kinds of stuff like that. So here's a taste. And Dave, I'm going to give you an option of a would you rather. Do you want it to be more of a theme of Lord of the Rings slash Game of Thrones, or DC, or Black Panther, or Star Wars? Muted.
You didn't get all of my amazing reactions to what you were saying there. That's a damn shame. The world will miss it. You know what? Let's do. I think you'd expect the Lord of the Rings thing, so let's do DC. Just
Okay.
throw some DC out there.
Okay. If you were Superman, all his powers, would you use your powers with absolute authority to ensure peace, consider the world as it is today? Or would you allow humanity to govern itself despite its flaws? Are you going to play God, or are you going to do what Superman does and let them do it?
I think I'm gonna have to stick with the ways of Superman. Although it is tempting, and this world definitely very, very often feels like somebody just needs to step in and put the boot on everyone's throat and say, all right, everybody knock it up. Shut up. Go back to your corners. Just stop. But I feel like that's a slippery slope. We've seen what happens in Injustice. And although he doesn't have to keep murdering people without, just keeping stability across the world, I just don't know that you can without power bleeding in and corruption seeping in, and you turn it into Nolan, Omni-Man, Nolan Grayson, Homelander. So I'm gonna stick with Superman and hope for the best.
Okay. Is there anything you would do? One thing, even if it's not political around the world, would you stop any one little thing?
Ooh, yeah, man, there's a lot. Okay, hold on. Yeah, my first thought is like going to like the Amazon rainforest and stuff. Like, hey, stop killing this freaking amazing thing. Like, this is insane. Please let this continuing to be a thing. I go to kind of almost nature. Man, I guess I'd fly out maybe to the Middle East and just pick Israel up and take it to a separate location, and pick up Palestine and take it to a separate location, and pick up Iran and
Just
take it
stop
to a
fighting.
separate location, and try to stop the Middle East war there and just put them in their corners and fly on back. I don't know.
What are they doing over there?
Let's
dude?
just stop that entire thing that's been happening for thousands of years and just killing innocents constantly. Let's so that, or get everybody out of the Amazon. Just get the hell out of there. Never mind. There's so much magic there too. It's got to be regulated, but we got to get some stuff from there. There's crazy medicines and all that. I'm rambling, but it's hard to just pick a one specific set thing. But
We'll do
I feel
one
like
side
stopping war in the Middle East would stop a lot of stuff going on.
You didn't think of one, and you're going to be like, dude, I would do the same thing. But I'll tell you mine. Human trafficking. Dude, if I could see everything, hear everything, I would go completely freaking stop that. I don't care about the political ramifications. Any country, anywhere, just completely. And I would go injustice on their ass. I'm killing all those responsible for that, bro. Get the hell off of this planet. I can't believe that kind of evil even exists in humanity. If I'm Superman, dude, I'm going everywhere I can and stopping all of that.
That's the right answer right there. I hate myself for thinking of the Amazon rainforest. That was right there.
Frogs
save
over
the
people.
trees. There's freaking kids getting smuggled across borders, and 100%. Take down the trafficking units. Join up with a homeboy from Sound of Freedom. Give him a little muscle and start taking out some stuff. But absolutely.
I just watched Sound of Freedom like 2 days ago for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I still haven't seen it actually.
It's a good movie, but my God, it's just heartbreaking. I'm so thankful that it's PG-13, dude. Like, even what they could show in PG-13, it's still so heartbreaking. And like, if you, I mean, that's not the point, but yeah, that's I cannot believe that exists. That's unreal. It's absolutely unreal. That's
it's kind of why I haven't watched that yet, is because I am aware of the ridiculous numbers there are out there, and I'm like, I don't think I want to sit down and watch that right now. I don't want to.
Yeah, it's depressing.
I
Super
know it's
depressing.
out there. Do I want to go through this and be depressed by the end of the night? So yeah,
Yeah.
that's what. But I've heard it's really good. So, and I'm glad it's out there, and people who weren't very aware of certain things like that are seeing it. So it's good it's out there.
Yeah, dude. So, I mean, God, that'd be a sick Elseworld story. Just Superman versus the human traffickers. Let us have a little fantasy satisfaction. But anyway, we're not going to dive into all that. It sucks. Get rid of it, God, please.
Thank you.
All right, let's get into it. Hello, welcome back to Why So Sidious, a nerd podcast where we talk about Star Wars, Marvel, DC, all the good nerd stuff. Today's our Week in Geek. We're going to be talking about some recent nerd news, a lot of James Gunn stuff with Creatures Commandos coming out. He's doing a lot of interviews and stuff like that, and he's shed a little bit of light on a lot of projects coming out with the DCU and a couple little Marvel stories. So stick around for that. And of course, we are at Why So Sidious Pod, and that's on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and X. So check it out. We're live on YouTube right now. YouTube probably has our most diverse content. We got a lot of stuff on there, including a couple episodes that couldn't even be released on Spotify, thanks to Riverside. We have a Nerd Therapy 4. We have a really awesome Lord of the Rings episode with a special guest, Finn. So that's a YouTube exclusive.
By the way,
coming up here shortly.
Sorry, real quick shout out to the YouTube chat. Andy from the Galactic Core podcast, yet again joining us. Just an absolute legend out there. He says, good to see you guys. It's good to see you too, Andy. Thanks for joining us. Sorry.
It is always great to see our buddy Andy from the Galactic Core podcast. So please go check him out. He does the same stuff we do, and he does it in a beautiful voice and really excellent guy. We were actually just on his podcast talking about some recent nerd news along with Rings of Power Season 2. So go check it out. Andy's got an awesome show. What else? Pretty soon here, we're actually going to be covering a couple novels. So Project Hail Mary is a movie coming out, and this is actually maybe news to Dave, but Cody's going to be coming on here, Dave, along with another buddy named Marshall, and these guys are some book nerds. And Project Hail Mary is a movie coming out in 2026, starring Ryan Gosling. Like it's like cooking. The production side of things are cooking, and this, I gotta say, is one of the coolest books I've read. It's from Andy Weir. I hope I said that right. He's the dude who wrote The Martian, so I think it's way better than The Martian. There's way more excitement, way more climactic, way more stuff going on, and that is a really awesome book. We also are gonna do Shadows of the Sith, a Star Wars novel that attempts to correct a lot of the mistakes of The Rise of Skywalker. And that book's okay. I think it's just purely interesting because of how it's trying to basically revive a corpse. And it's just really interesting to see how they go about doing that. So Shadows of the Sith, figure out why Lando was where he was at. What's up with that dagger, how Palpatine came back, a lot of this ridiculous stuff. But that'll be a fun review for whatever reason you want to say. And Kraven's Last Hunt, the comic, we're going to cover that one in honor of the movie coming out. So check that out. Great Spider-Man story. And let's get into the news. So like I said, a ton of James Gunn stuff, a lot of DCU stuff, and I'm just going to spout all this stuff out. So Dave, let me know what you think about all this stuff. Let's start with James Gunn recently just came on and confirmed that Deathstroke is a part of their DCU plans. Now, we've heard about the Deathstroke and Bane movie, but weirdly enough, he hasn't said anything about it, right? James Gunn has never came on and said anything about the Bane and Deathstroke movie, so we're really not even sure if that's like the title of the movie, if it's actually focusing on those two characters. Maybe it's like a Secret Six comic or a movie. We don't know, but he did confirm that Deathstroke is definitely a part of the DCU plans, and that is really exciting. Deathstroke is a freaking awesome character, so I can't wait to see what they do with him. Do you think that any of the confirmed movies so far, you could see him popping up in any of those?
I could see him maybe popping up in Lanterns, maybe. Well, God, I guess it all depends. I kind of forgot what the plot of Lanterns is, but isn't it like a murder detective mystery kind of deal? Something's going on. Somebody's getting murdered.
I don't know about murder mystery, but
Yeah.
they're like they're how do I they're detecting no, they're detectives on some kind of issue. Very likely a murder. I don't know. That's kind of all we
It's
know
probably
about it.
Yeah, it's probably not Deathstroke. I don't know. I mean, Superman Legacy covers a bunch of characters. Maybe there's a certain instance where the whatever that Justice League team has clashed with Deathstroke at some point. And then obviously Batman Brave and the Bold. I think that's probably the biggest chance that he's going to show up somewhere. But I just hope, man. I hope it's not. We had that little scare. I just hope it's a live action. I hope he's not saying yes, it's a part of the DCU, but it's just an animated deal. That would be heartbreaking.
Yeah, for sure. But then again, he also said all the animated like actors that are voicing him are all going to turn over to live action. I don't think there'll be animated
Right.
exclusive DCU stuff.
Well, I just more so maybe mean in the way like not the Deathstroke and Bane project, but like I don't know, like certain animated characters are gonna pop up in well, Creature Commandos is a different time period, but I guess I just mean like that. Like I think there will be certain characters that are just in animated shows that don't actually have a major presence in the actual live action DCU. But
For sure.
um,
Well, he hasn't spoken on it since we heard about, but the Teen Titans movie. Obviously, I could see him popping up there. I mean,
yeah,
primarily he's a Titans villain. He is a kind of a side villain for Batman, but primarily Titans. And his first comic book appearance was in the Titans, was in the new Teen Titans by Marv Wolfman, and I could totally see he should be the main villain in the Teen Titans movie, to be honest, unless it's Trigon, because that's a big Titans villain too with Raven. I don't know if they're going to go that direction or with
after
Deathstroke.
Titans, I hope they don't, just because they already
Same.
did Trigon and Titans season 1 and 2. So I would really much prefer a grounded start to the Teen Titans with Deathstroke.
Yeah, 100% would love that. He's such a badass character. How weird was that? That Trigon season 1 ended, and then season 2 started with what seemed like the finale
The
of
finale.
season 1.
It's so weird.
It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. But that's all right. So that's Deathstroke. We're really excited. I have no idea what's going to go on with that. Bane, Deathstroke is such a weird concept. They wouldn't have a movie together. They don't have comic book history tied together. So I just don't. That was really weird news in the first place. All right, let's keep going with James Gunn. So someone on Twitter asked James Gunn why he's kind of scooting over origins for certain characters, but then giving other characters a possible origin like Swamp Thing. And pretty much James Gunn said, this is a quote from Twitter. He said, I'm not telling Batman and Superman's origin stories again because everyone knows them. He said, don't put Swamp Thing in the corner. That's a project in development we've actually announced. And he's an incredibly well-known character and not only has some of the greatest comics of all time, but a successful film series and his own TV show, something that could be said of only a very small handful of DC characters. Love to see Swamp Thing get some love, and it totally makes sense. We absolutely don't need another Batman origin. We absolutely don't need another Superman origin. I'm really happy they're sticking them into this universe that's already established. What do you think of all that?
I want to get into the Swamp Thing more. So I don't know what to expect when that gets brought into the equation there. But it makes sense to me. That decision makes sense. But I gotta get more into it. I know he's a fan favorite. Well, he's a favorite of yours. And I still haven't even watched the DC series, the most recent one that came out, the live action. So I feel like I want to catch up on all this before we see the DCU Swamp Thing. But so, did he say when that's supposed to come to surface at all?
No, we don't have any kind of dates for Swamp Thing, but I think it'll be one of the sooner projects because it sounds like they probably have a script and an idea of where they're going, and it's one of the few confirmed things. I think it'll come pretty soon. I think it'll come before Batman for sure, before Brave and the Bold.
Okay. Like what? So as a Swamp Thing fan, what do you feel about that?
Oh, I love it, and I think it's really necessary to do the origin because it's not like Superman and Batman. We haven't seen this origin played out
Right.
over and over, and it's a really interesting origin story. I think with such a weird character too, you kind of need to find out how this dude becomes Swamp Thing. There's a lot of different things I did in the comic, like the dude who became Swamp Thing, like he actually died, but he was basically creating this bio restorative formula to enhance plant life on Earth and enhance like growth and vegetation to feed everyone, pretty much. And he was blown up because the government was obviously not about that. You know, they're gonna lose a lot of money if they can't manipulate food, pretty much.
Right.
So he got killed, landed in a swamp, like with all this bio restorative formula soaking around him, and became one with the plants. But the only difference of a couple different stories is like he actually died. His body's gone, but his consciousness is the only thing that survived. And he became the Swamp Thing. And he didn't have his heart, his lungs, nothing, his bones, nothing about the original dude, Alec Holland, was there. It's just his consciousness became the vessel for this swamp body. And then later they retconned that and changed. I really love that. I love the first idea, though. I love the idea of a consciousness being the vessel for this swamp body. I think that's so sick, so mystical, so like unique and really cool. And the New 52 changed so many things, the New 52 comics, and they did something where like Alec Holland's really back. Like the green restored his body from the grave, and now he's the vessel from the Swamp Thing as a normal human person. And I was like, man, that's too much like all the other characters.
So he's not the Swamp Thing figure anymore? Or he's just underneath all of that in his Alec Holland body?
With the New 52, he was Alec
Yeah.
Holland, normal human body underneath the swamp stuff. Yeah.
Interesting. Like a really weird Iron Man suit. Okay. Yeah, I like the first concept a lot more. It's a lot
First
cooler.
concept is so sick. And
You
it
have a human
dives so
body in
deep
there.
into like a lot of philosophical discussion about the separation of mind and body and the soul and what that really is. And I just love that so much. It's so unique. And that seems more like, James Gunn. I really hope that's the Swamp Thing we get in the DCU.
Yeah, I'm rooting for that after that kind of explanation there. I don't want to see a body underneath all of that. I'm good. But
It's kind of weird. Like I'm just getting
that's
wet.
totally James Gunn though. Like going with the consciousness thing is right up his alley.
For sure. And then next, James Gunn talks about, I'm just going to stop saying his full damn name. So he talks about, in a recent interview with Collider, he talks about basically how a lot of his projects, he pretty much confirms, are going to be rated R. He says, it's all about the script. We're not just going to make rated R movies just to make rated R movies. He says it's all about the script, and however that plays out in the movie, we're just not turning away from rated R stuff. He continued adding that the story was, like I said, the story is king. Like they're not making any movies like Marvel's been doing just to make certain movies with certain characters, whatever it is. He said it's not about testing out to see. He said it is about just testing out to see if things work. And I'm going to repeat everything I've been saying. Pretty much, script is first, and that's the important thing, and that's really awesome. I think like he's learning the lessons that Marvel should be learning, and script being first, a lot of those things are going to be rated R. And I think that's interesting. Like there's a lot of discussion about how Deadpool might not fit into an Avengers movie because how can you tone down his language and all this content of Deadpool and throw him in an Avengers movie. So I'm really curious how he's going to balance that all out. Like bringing rated R characters into a PG-13. Like I'm sure his Justice League films are going to be PG-13. These big event films aren't going to be rated R, I'm sure. So I'm curious to see how that worked out. But also on the same note, like I feel like you could throw Deadpool in Avengers movies. He doesn't have to say fuck every other word. Like you could just throw him in there. He could push the limits of PG-13 and fit in there just fine.
Yeah. Oh, I was just gonna say, I think Deadpool would be really easy to put in an Avengers movie, especially because you have the fourth wall break. You could literally have him bleeped out You could have him whenever he talks, and he says, he gets a censorship every time he drops an F-bomb. Every time he says, it could literally play out that way and work because of the fourth wall break. So, and it doesn't have to be that, like you said, he just doesn't have to just drop bombs left and right. He can crack jokes and have humor, and it's PG-13, and you do get one F word every or PG-13 movie, so you can get one in the Avengers movie. But I think that's a super easy thing to write in, and I think James Gunn can do that. Look, you can take Daredevil, which was pretty much from an R-rated series. I mean, they got violent when they needed to. They got intense. It was TVMA. I think he fit fine into the brief parts he's been with the MCU.
Perfect example.
I don't think there's any issue doing that. I just think you're going to get a little bit less zoomed in, actual full-on visceral, bloody fight scenes or whatever the case may be, and some language is going to be pulled back, but you can still have the essence of that character from a rated R project in an ensemble PG-13 movie. So that's great news, because I think you do. I think Star Wars has that problem sometimes, and we've talked about that a lot. You don't always have to cater to the children. There are aspects. There is an audience out there who are adults who grew up with this stuff and they want to go see it. And a rated R movie is not going to kill your box office. And we just saw Deadpool break $1 billion rated R. So I think there's plenty of reasons why this is a good move.
Highest rated R project of all time. And that was gnarly. I mean, he was throwing femurs into people's groins and looking like he was jacking it off. I mean,
look at The Boys, bro. The Boys is too much, and it still does great numbers. Like, the audience is there. Just tell a good story. The Boys doesn't even tell a good story right now, and it's still doing good. So you're fine.
For sure. And the fourth wall break, he could literally say, I can't say that. I'm just going to keep it PG-13. Like, he could literally say that in an Avengers movie and no one would complain. He did that with Cap. Like, when Cap said, hey, what about you, dick for brains? And he looks at him like super weird because he thought it was Captain America, which is a PG-13 character. You could do that and it would work. So I have no problem with that. And I think Mr. Gunn here will do a really good job at that. I'm just excited that he's committing to, that side of things. I think the DCU will be even more for it. Like, Marvel does a pretty good job at making their good stuff for adults too. A lot of their best stuff is really just totally cool for adults, and I think Gunn will do that just as well. And the next thing we got, so we're speculating on Superman trailer, and it sounds like he'll be coming out. That trailer should be coming out in December. We hear there's some ramblings online about it being attached to the Mufasa movie coming out in December. So excited to see that trailer. I hope it does come out sooner rather than later. But Frank Grillo, really short here, has just a quote that says, someone asked him about, on Collider, someone asked him about the Superman trailer, and he says, I hope I don't get in trouble for this. I got a sneak peek at a little bit of the trailer, and he says, I'm not joking. I'm not blowing this out of proportion. My skin was hot, and I had goosebumps. That's how great it is. And Frank, he seems like a genuine guy. I don't think he would just go on there talking about things that he didn't feel. And I just cannot wait. I just cannot wait to see our first glimpse into the live action DCU, this trailer. And there's so much riding on this trailer. Like, this is the beginning of your franchise, and you need as the highest amount of box office possible to push this through. Like, I don't think it's going to make a huge box office because people just don't trust DC yet. I don't think you need $1 billion movie or even an $800 million movie. I don't think you need that. I think you just need good reception. I think you need everyone to like it. But still, you need to get this trailer. Like, this needs to be one of the best trailers ever. You're starting off a universe that people don't trust is going to be good. And I can't wait.
And you're coming out at the same time as Fantastic Four. So you're already up against some competition when you're first dropping this major thing that's going to set the tone for the rest of this brand new cinematic universe. So, yeah, there's a lot weighing on this. I think, again, James Gunn, I trust he's going to release. And I don't know how much creative control he has, final say, over, like, the trailers. I don't know how that level of hierarchy works. I would imagine he gets at least, no, we're not putting that in. Like, no, that can't be a part of the trailer. I don't want that released. I would imagine he has final say on that. But if he does have any type of creative control about this first trailer, I would imagine it's going to be solid. I feel like it's going to be like a Goosebumps kind of reveal. Because like you said, Remember when the Force Awakens trailer first came out? It was the first Star Wars project from forever. Bro, that trailer was goosebumps the entire time. I mean, it just was incredible. So I think they'll come out swinging.
100%. I can't freaking wait. The last quote we have, I mean, it pretty much sums up everything. And this comes out of Game Rant. And I'm going to quote the whole thing. And no context for you here. But he says, there's no set timeline for anything. I'm pretty sure, just to rewind out of the quotations there, he was asked about certain projects being revealed and other projects that haven't been revealed yet, and like when certain things are coming out, why we haven't had dates for certain things come out, like Brave and the Bold, this and that. He said there's no set timeline for anything. The one thing that I've tried to make clear to people from the beginning, in the way that I hope we're different, is that everything in DC is going to be based on the writers. Until we have a screenplay that I'm totally happy with, that movie's not going to get made, no matter what it is. So we have been really fortunate with some screenplays. You know, Supergirl came in and just Anna Nogueira did such an amazing job. The Lanterns pilot came in, and now the whole Lantern series came in, and it's like, wow, that's wonderful, wonderful work. And there's a couple of other things that people don't know about. A couple of movies and TV shows that are green lit or near green lit. But it's going to be based always on that, on the story. Because at the end of the day, if we're happy with the story that we're willing to tell, that's what matters the most. And once Brave and the Bold gets to that point, then we'll make the movie. Nothing but good things. They're in such good hands.
Yeah, no notes here. That's awesome. That you can't help but feel good about that.
Yeah.
Take a page there, Marvel, or a note, whatever you need to take. Just take it.
Take a page there, Star Wars. My God, we need like that.
Yeah.
That should be the best franchise out of the three, and they are just dropping the ball.
Classic Star Wars.
Classic Star Wars, please. How does Kathleen Kennedy still have a job? I really don't understand. She's pulling strings from behind the scenes, bro. She's doing something dirty to keep her job.
She's jacking Mickey off over there. Something's happening.
Mickey. That kind of sums up everything for what James Gunn has been saying lately. There's probably other things he's been saying, but that's what we're covering here today. I'm more excited for the DCU than I've been about a lot of stuff. This is incredible. I can't wait. We'll see how it goes. Let's move on to Marvel. A couple things. First is this actually came out of the Christian Harloff show, and this is today. He claimed that his source told him, a source that he trusted, that the Young Avengers project is absolutely happening. He said it's going to be a series. And the Christian Harloff show is not really a show that does this kind of thing. He doesn't just like break scoops for fun. This is the only, I watch this dude all the time. He doesn't ever do this. And today he said, yeah, I have a source and I believe him that the Young Avengers project is happening. And we've heard rumblings about it, and that's fine. You know, it seems kind of obvious. We've had Kate Bishop, Miss Marvel seems to fit right in. We've had Wiccan and the Agatha show. It's spoilers, by the way, for the Agatha show. You don't mind, right, Dave? I could spoil all that.
Nope, you're good.
It ends. So not only was Wiccan revealed, you know, the son of Scarlet Witch with all the witch powers, but the very ending of Agatha all along, it ends with them on a journey to go find Tommy, the speedster twin.
Oh, they even find him at the end of it?
Hell no.
Oh, no. They started that journey with the one episode I watched, but I guess that was like episode 6. So,
yeah. So they're doing that. What do you think of spoilers? By the way, again, but Evan Peters? You saw that little cameo?
Yeah, I don't. Are they just messing with us even further? Like, right? Hey, remember the boner joke? Let's throw that guy in there again and really make it not be Pietro. Like, what the hell? What? That kind of annoyed me. Like, it was fine. I was just like, you guys serious right now? You're turning him into more of a boner and less of Pietro with another? Yeah, I don't know. That was a weird move.
Even in WandaVision, like that pissed me off that he wasn't Pietro.
Sucked.
Apparently, like that's so dumb. You bring in the Quicksilver actor, and he's not. He didn't. Did he have speed powers? I forgot. Was he fast?
He talked about it, and they showed him doing speed stuff. But again, who knows if that was like in the brain or I don't know. Who knows? Because they just totally pulled the rug out from under us and called him Ralph Boner. So I don't know. the vein is popping out my forehead. So I'm getting pissed.
I hope when they do find Tommy, he has the same aesthetics of that speedster, like the way we saw in Days of Future Past, and the way they did that. Very different from how like Ezra Miller in the Justice League.
Yeah,
I think it's some of the best speedster stuff. But the MCU did it pretty good with what's her name, Makari in the Eternals.
yeah, she was dope. She was because I mean we got Quicksilver in Age of Ultron. And he wasn't bad in it. The action sequences were fine for me, but Makari or whatever, yeah, from Eternals was my favorite of any speedsters. That was awesome. They just nailed it.
Yeah. We also have the Young Hulk, which was I mean, out of any reveal I've seen from Marvel, that's got to be one of the worst. That was terrible. That was so
awful. Barbecue.
What kind of haircut is that?
What are they doing? Why is he showing up to a barbecue to reveal this dude who looks like a unfinished CGI rendering? They didn't finish his haircut either. He looks like a pouty kid who's like, I don't want to come with my dad to this. Like, it was just so weird.
The front half of his head was shaved off, and you got the back half that goes into a damn ponytail or whatever that was. That was terrible. Scar is supposed to be even more brutal than
he's
the
a
Hulk
savage,
is.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He looked like a pouting teen that was not finished. That was rough.
Yeah. And we also have that end credit scene. I guess Kate Bishop already met Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
All the pieces are coming together. I don't see how you make that as good as any Avenger project. Not even close. But we'll see how that goes. But apparently that's coming.
I think you could get to like a Guardians of the Galaxy close-ish level. I don't know that it'll be as good as those because again, James Gunn killed it. But as far as like ensemble style, I think that's more what it would be like. Not quite as epic. But yeah, I believe that completely. Again, like you said, that post-credit scene with Kate, she was already starting to reach out and find people. And I think we've been talking about the writing being on the wall for the Young Avengers for a while, even before that post-credit scene. So, I mean, we got not Elijah Bradley, but
Isaiah.
Yeah, no, Elijah. Isaiah's the older one. Elijah's Patriot, the one of the Young Avengers. So Elijah Bradley got revealed. Like you said, we already had Kate there. We already had Ant-Man's daughter.
Cassie, totally.
Cassie. So we already got a bunch of these characters that were popping up where it was like, okay, these are young. And it started post-credit scene and everything. So I'd be actually blown away if there wasn't a Young Avengers reveal soon here.
Yeah, seriously. And last but not least, Kevin Feige spoke to, this comes out of JoBlo.com. And he said about the X-Men. We're getting into the X-Men here, and after Secret Wars, right? So he said, I think you will see that the X-Men story continues in our next few movies with some X-Men players that you might recognize. Right after that, the whole story of Secret Wars really leads us into a new age of mutants and of the X-Men. And he says, again, it's one of those dreams come true. We finally have the X-Men back. So short quote, but a lot of stuff to dig into. The next few movies, we're going to see familiar X-Men? Hold on, time out. What is coming out after Thunderbolts? We got Captain America 4 coming out. We got Thunderbolts. What's after that as far as movies? Right? Like what?
Shang-Chi?
Yeah, we wish, right?
Yeah.
We have a ton of series confirmed. I'm going to look it up.
I'm pretty sure Eternals 2 was pretty much taken off the board from what I heard, which is a bummer, honestly, for me. We've talked about it enough, but I enjoyed it. We got Brave New World. I mean, Daredevil Born Again, but that's not a movie. He said next few movies.
Yeah. And dude, is there? I don't even think there's another movie confirmed legit after.
Fantastic Four would be the third one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Didn't even think about that.
Yeah, good call.
And Wonder Man is, and then Avengers Doomsday is the one after. So there is only 3 until Doomsday.
Interesting.
So apparently we're gonna get something in Brave New World that has something to do with a mutant. So could it be? Who would it? It's gonna be some obscure. I swear to God, if they lead off with Jubilee again, no, I don't know.
For some reason, Beast doesn't excite me that much, except for like the lore of it, like what's really happening. Because like Miss Marvel or
Yeah,
Photons
they
in that
already
universe with Beast.
right. So that's not even the same universe, and they showed him. So
You know, the Fantastic Four confirmed to come from a different universe, and there could very well be X-Men on that universe.
oh, sorry. I want to bring us back, but we did miss a comment. It's kind of juicy. I know we're in the MCU right now. Well, it kind of talks about the MCU. That's fine. Andy says, I'm just not convinced that the DCU will actually ever get to the Marvel levels of success. I think getting it to that height will be almost impossible. So we're talking about the MCU right now.
Andy says this.
Andy in the chat.
Andy, James Gunn is in charge of the DCU. James Gunn is a massive comic book fan. James Gunn was a part of Marvel when they're freaking were churning on the highest of levels. He knows how that program works. He knows how the structure works. He's in charge of the whole DC, bro. Andy, it has the potential to reach and possibly exceed the Infinity Saga. This is the truth. This is the truth, Andy. Dude,
Shots.
I couldn't have more faith in this guy, dude. It's like there's nobody better to run DC. He loves comics so much, and he loves the characters, and we're talking about how script and story and the writing is their primary concern. I think it's going to be... I think it definitely has the opportunity, and we're going rated R with some things. I think it could possibly exceed Infinity stuff.
You have made JD very upset, Andy, and if you're going to continue to join this chat and stir up things, then we want you to keep coming back. Yeah, it's good. Good stuff.
Love you, Andy. But we can't all be right about everything. It's okay.
That's true. You have to be wrong.
No, but Fantastic Four. Dude, could you imagine if Pedro Pascal, if Mr. Fantastic in this universe gets the idea of the Illuminati because of these incursions? I really think the incursions are going to play into this, and that's why he has to escape that reality and come to the 616. I think an incursion is going to destroy their universe. How Galactus, it kind of overrides Galactus, unfortunately, in a way, but we'll see how that goes. I think Pedro's coming over. Dr. Doom's going to follow him and the idea of the Illuminati. But my point with the Illuminati is, like, Beast was a big part of that. And, we could see, my point is we could possibly see some X-Men in Fantastic Four. I would put money on that over Thunderbolts and Captain America.
It would make more sense for sure. I think with Thunderbolts, you could... I don't know why I'm drawing blanks with mutants that could pop up in the real world right now that aren't like crazy level. Like I'm more thinking like that person, for example. I don't know why I can't think, but I just feel like there's something out there, and I'm going to give up because I'm obviously losing this battle. But there are mutants out there that could pop up randomly in like an encounter, a villain that popped up the Thunderbolts. Or adamantium is getting brought into the Thunderbolts. That leads to a Wolverine. So maybe we find about some lab experiments and we meet a couple of mutants that they're testing adamantium on but keep dying or something. I don't know. But maybe we get something in Thunderbolts. But I agree, Fantastic Four makes a lot more sense.
And we have no idea what the Thunderbolts is even about. The trailers have only shown like the team dynamics. We have no clue what the conflict is. Like, what's the problem? Why do they have to assemble, and what are they doing there?
Pauses timeout on the game. Andy shot back. Said the culmination of the MCU to Endgame is unparalleled. I will give you that. It was pretty damn incredible. It's going to be hard to repeat all the way up to that. To replicate that success is so hard to do. But this is where you cross the line, Andy. He said, plus, Guardians is a touch overrated. Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
They don't have to repeat what the MCU did. They do not. They're out there. They're not. They're not starting with 0 heroes on the planet and giving you Iron Man and then giving you Hulk and then so on and so forth. There's something different brewing there. It does not have to repeat what the MCU did. It's not even going to. But I think the DC comics, and this is just me, it could very well never reach the Infinity Saga. That's a huge bar to reach. That's amazing cinema. DC characters are better. DC Comics, in my opinion, are better. I like the Justice League more than the Avengers. I like the Bat Family more than the I don't know, the Young Avengers. I like the Teen Titans more than I don't know, but we have the X-Men coming in though. Dude, what if the Marvel could still like
It could
exceed
still
their
keep
own
going.
bar. Yeah.
And I will
It's
say,
tough.
for in Andy's defense, I don't think he necessarily meant replicate the pattern of the MCU, but more so replicating the amount of success.
The quality. Yeah.
Right.
That's going to be hard.
It is going to be hard. I mean, I'm with Andy where it's a tall task. But I would say if I had to bet on it happening again, I wouldn't have. I'd say it won't happen again. But this does give me like, maybe we'll see. I'll at least give him the benefit of the doubt and see if he can do it. And I think starting off with things like lanterns and stuff like that, like you said, it just totally brings a different feel to it. It's going to be a totally different style. But I think, man, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Marvel can't have the best cinematic universe ever forever. Someone's going to dethrone him at some point.
Oh, no, for sure.
And gun in charge, bro. I got you, Andy. We'll have a nice debate after the first Justice League movie comes out in like 10 years. Galactic Core podcast. Why so Sidious? Debate time.
There you go.
Is it better? Infinity
And
Saga
I think the DCU is going to pass the MCU at some point for sure. I fully believe that it's going to happen. I'm still somewhat questionable, with the MCU right now. And I feel like I would have been more excited about the X-Men 6 years ago than I am now. I'm still excited. It's the X-Men, but I'm less excited than I should be, I feel. So I think DC is going to take it over. It's still a question in my mind if they'll beat out what they did in their first 3 phases kind of deal in that amount of time. But again, like you said, it's going to be different, so it might be hard to judge.
My worst fear is like someone higher than James Gunn will cancel it if like something like Superman doesn't make enough money or something like that. I really hope they let him see it all the way through up until Justice League. Give him the full shot. Thanos is a tough villain. You're gonna have it's gonna be a tough villain to do better than Thanos. It's gonna be really hard.
Thanos was incredible, incredible.
All right, that wraps up our nerd news for today. Stay tuned for our Kraven's Last Hunt comic book review. And if you're live right now, we're actually going to do that right now. But if you're on Spotify, it's going to come out in a few days. So stay tuned for that. Yes, Why So Sidious Pod, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We've got a merch store. Click on that link in our podcast description, wherever you're listening. We got a support the show link. Pitch in. You could even do $3 a month. That's nothing. Support the show. The more support, the more content. And that would be freaking awesome anyway. So all that good stuff. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Why So Sidious, a nerd podcast.
And welcome in to another episode of Why So Sidious, a nerd podcast. I'm your host, David, and here with me tonight is my co-host, JD. And tonight we will be covering the comic run Kraven's Last Hunt. But before we get into that, check out some of our recent episodes. We've been covering the Penguin. We covered another comic called Batman Hush. Ever heard of it? We covered it. Go check it out. We also have been dropping Weekend Geeks consistently, dropping all the news coming out of the DCU. We just finished up with one of those. News coming from Captain America 4, Thunderbolts, Dune Prophecy, which, looking towards the future, we will be talking about. Depending on how it continues, we may have specific set episodes for Dune, or it might be part of Weekend Geeks, but we will be discussing it. So if you're enjoying that first premiere episode, I think I did. I really liked it. So look in the future for our discussions on that show. Caleb will be joining us. He is not here with us tonight, but he is still a part of the podcast. So don't send in your applications yet. Actually, you know what? Before I jump in even more, stay tuned. We got some cool coverage coming up on novels. JD and Cody and another special guest, Marshall, will be covering the book Project Hail Mary. And Caleb and JD will also be covering the novel Shadows of the Sith, right?
And Project Hail Mary.
Yeah, I said Project Hail Mary, but Shadows of the Sith is the name of the Ray book, right?
Shadows of the Sith, and you said Hail Mary like you're watching a football game, and it's like Aaron Rodgers trying to win a game against the Lions.
Play the tape, Jamie.
Play it.
Show me Project.
$5.
All right, we're going to figure this out at the end of the episode. Andy, if you're still in the chat, go ahead and let us know if I said project first. But we got more stuff coming out, so be sure to tune in. Be sure to follow us on our socials, X, TikTok, Instagram at Why So Cities Pod, and our YouTube page. We have live episodes up there that are not on our Spotify, Nerd Therapy 4, and a cool Lord of the Rings episode due to Riverside's incompetence. So go ahead and check us out over on YouTube if you missed those episodes. So like I said, tonight we are going to be getting into Kraven's Last Hunt. It's a 6-issue run written by J.M. DeMatteis. Don't know if that's pronounced right. And Mike Zeck. Matthias DeMatteis. DeMattei, he might be French. And Mike Zeck, I know that one's right. Released in 1987. The run culminated in Spider-Man and Kraven's last face-off for the time being. Kraven wouldn't return to comics until 2009 after this. The run mainly focuses on Kraven more than Spider-Man, actually, taking us into Kraven's mental state of mind, where he's found himself needing one last confirmation that he is indeed the greatest hunter on the planet. We follow his mental journey as he takes down Spider-Man, dresses up as him, and proves that he is superior. It's a deep dive into Kraven's mind and how he sees things, touching on his backstory briefly and how he came to be Kraven instead of Kravenov. That's essentially the recap. I mean, Spider-Man's killed and buried at the beginning. We follow Kraven. We kind of see Mary Jane briefly, her dealing with her worries of Peter. Kraven faces off against a villain, Vermin, who apparently Spider-Man and Captain America beat up sometime in the past. Seems kind of messed up that they teamed up on this thing.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man returns from the grave to face Kraven. And the final issue is kind of a weird deal with Spider-Man tracking down Vermin after the fact. So there's only 6 issues, so we can just kind of loosely discuss any points that stuck out to us or we want to discuss. But first, JD, overall storytelling and art style, what do you think of the 6-issue run?
Storytelling and art. So it was really unique. I think it was really cool for a Spider-Man story, just having it be so unique. I think this is like one of the most unique Spider-Man stories. It's not your web slinger action. He doesn't have a lot of quips, a lot of jokes or anything like that. It's it's like an introspective, almost like apathetic Spider-Man. He's like, well, he's got the black suit on too, so it's almost like, I don't know if is this the symbiote like influencing his behavior, because he's darker. The whole story feels dark. It's like, it feels like Gotham. It's a lot of it takes place at nighttime, and there's thunder in the background, and Spider-Man isn't his usual like compassionate goofy dude. There's no talk about responsibilities and powers. It's it is action packed. There's a lot of action. It's just so different, and I do like it. I've read this thing 3 times. The first time I didn't like it. The second time I loved it. This third time I felt like it was strange, and I think it is really a solid Spider-Man story. I really do. I really love the dive into Kraven's psychology. I think that was the standout of the comic. I think after he kills Spider-Man and replaces Spider-Man, I think that was really fun to watch. The Vermin character I felt was very strange. I don't know about that background with Captain America and Spider-Man. Apparently
not one of your favorite issues.
Yeah. Apparently Captain America, apparently Vermin is like, he could beat Spider-Man in a fight because apparently he needed Captain America's help. That was a big point of this story. That's what Kraven was trying to prove to Spider-Man, because Kraven goes and beats Vermin. Then he makes Spider-Man and Vermin face off against one another, and Vermin kind of wins. So it's like, this dude is just a better fighter than Spider-Man, I guess. I don't know what's going on with that. So, but the main point, great comic for Kraven to understand his psychology. He's very complex. Starts out very villainous, but then ends up like complex, different. He seems like a decent dude afterwards.
Weird
I guess.
Guy.
Weird guy. So overall, really solid. Points for uniqueness. I like the dark tone of the Spider-Man story. I would have preferred more web slinging action with I would have loved some scenes with Kraven hunting Spider-Man across the skyscrapers of New York and stuff like that. But overall, really solid, very unique. And I'm really curious to see what you thought about this.
Yeah, I don't. Did we even see Spider-Man swinging from a web at any point in
Right?
this story? Like, I'm thinking about it. And yeah, I should have mentioned at the start of this, we're covering this because coming out in theaters is Kraven, starring Aaron Taylor Johnson. That's coming out in December. So we're gonna watch that and we're gonna cover it, even though we didn't cover Venom 3. I have faith. I think it's gonna be better than Venom 3. I think we're gonna want to at least discuss it a little bit. I'm looking forward to this movie weirdly, even though when the Red Band trailer first dropped, I was like, yeah, no interest. But I'm gaining a lot of interest. So anyway, I really enjoyed the style of this run. Honestly, very different. It had that gritty, dark, and sometimes weird '80s vibe to it, and the artwork kind of felt like it matched that tone. But I really enjoyed it. It was unique. I didn't really think that it had big action pieces. There was a few fights here and there, but I didn't think it really needed it or the epic, massive climaxes. It more focused on mental conflicts for both Kraven and Spider-Man, and it was just written in a really odd way. And like you said, we get dualities of all the characters in this. I noticed Kraven is kind of battling himself in his mind, talking to himself back and forth. Spider-Man is talking to himself back and forth. He's kind of like skittish, and then there's the other voice in his head, which I thought was the black suit, kind of kicking in and be like, "No, you are this. No, I'm not." He's arguing in his mind, and then we get Vermin, who is kind of like a Golem character. He had like the Smeagol side and the Golem side of where he was scared and he didn't want to be hurt, and then all of a sudden he was aggressive, defensive, angry. So it was interesting. We saw duality of multiple characters in this, and I just liked it. I enjoyed it. I don't think it's something I would want to read multiple volumes of, but for me, it was perfect as a 6-issue run. So I really enjoyed it. And we can get into some aspects here, but it was not at all what I was expecting when you told me, "Hey, do you want to read Kraven's Last Hunt?" I didn't realize it was written in the 80s. So yeah, no part of this was really what I was expecting, but I enjoyed reading it.
Let me ask you this. So before we read this, I told you ahead of time, I was like, don't expect the web slinger action,
Yeah.
all that stuff, because when I first read it, I did expect that, and it disappointed me on my first read because I wasn't even looking for that introspection, that deep dive into psychology, which I ended up really appreciating the second time around. Are you glad I told you that ahead of time, or how do you think that affected it?
I am. I'm very glad you told. I think that changed my expectation because again, when you first said Kraven and Spider-Man, I was like, all right, we're gonna see some dope scenes. Like I've never really seen them fighting, so I think that really helped. I'm kind of curious what my reception would have been if you didn't give me that heads up. So I appreciate it because I was able to just take it for what it was. I didn't really expect Spider-Man to be in it much at all, so that helped. But I could see if you're coming into it. Kraven versus Spider-Man. Kraven's hunting down Spider-Man, and then he never really even hunted Spider-Man once. It's like,
just the beginning.
Okay,
yeah.
What the hell just happened there? Yeah. So,
right.
Well, in the beginning, it barely even. I mean, it starts off. This was such a weird start. So there's 3 different runs I think we follow: Web of Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, and Amazing Spider-Man. But Web of Spider-Man 31 was the first issue, and the first opening I get is Kraven just being butt naked, crawling around on the ground. He stiff arms a gorilla so hard that the gorilla's head pops off, and he's like narrating it, talking about finding meaning in the hunt. Away from the cities and people, he feels society lost its values and is disgusting and dishonorable now in Russia and across the world. But that was my first intro into this, is just this butt naked dude crawling around, then he stiff arms a gorilla's head off. What the hell am I getting into here? But yeah, by the end of it, I liked it. But yeah, I don't remember him hunting him that much. I remember him just being in the grave almost immediately.
Right? I kind of want a comic like that. But going back to heads falling off, didn't Spider-Man freaking pop a lion's head off at one point too? A tiger? I could have sworn he went into Kraven's thing and literally just punched a damn tiger's head off.
That sounds familiar, actually. I feel like I do remember him punching an animal. I don't know if I remember seeing the head go off, but I believe it based off what I read in this.
Well, like, the art showed the head come off, and I'm just like, okay, I don't know what's going on. Is he, like, because there was a lot of talks about drugs and roots and herbs, like, in consciousness shifting, so I don't know if he was imagining that, but it seemed brutal for Spider-Man. which is in line with kind of how he's acting this whole comic. He is kind of a
Right.
brutal, darker Spider-Man. Like in the beginning, he was not. He was speaking about how he wasn't concerned about this dude Joe Face dying. Like he was like, fine. He's like, it's just it's another criminal. Why would I care if he dies? And I was just like, that's so dark for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And then he pops the lion's head off. I don't know if he was tripping out or if that really happened, but I guess like the killing people rule probably doesn't apply to animals. I guess.
I
But,
guess. But I think it was the black suit. Is this so? The 80s was the first time the black suit came into play, right? In the 80s Secret Wars.
yeah,
So this is our first iteration still with black suit Spider-Man in this story.
yeah. This is the time.
Okay.
Yeah, after Secret Wars, before Venom is born, he was just running around in his black suit, and like I don't know if the creators planned out this symbiote. Yeah, they had to have because it was attached to Spider-Man on Battle World during Secret World, but it took a long time, and it took a long time before Spider-Man visited Reed Richards and said, "What the hell's this suit?" And Reed's like, "Dude, be careful. This isn't just a suit. This is like a species possibly." But I wonder,
Yeah.
it's probably something really easy to look up, but. For quite a while, he was just operating in that black suit before Venom was born. But that's such a cool intro. I mean, that's such a cool like origin for a character like Venom.
Yeah.
It's so unique. It's so weird.
No, I love it. You were talking about trippy kind of imagery going on in here, and we got a lot of, like, you talked about the drugs and him taking different herbs and hallucinating and whatnot, and that was one thing we got in this run was a lot of art, which sounds so stupid because I'm talking about a comic book. Obviously, there's art in it, but it was very artistically done as far as parallels and poetic ties into certain things and symbolism. Hell of a lot of symbolism and imagery in this. Like, dude, I really, really like the panels where it's Kraven and one spider comes down. And then the next panel, there's 3 of them. The next panel, there's 30. And then before you know it, he's drowning in spiders right before he bursts out and starts chomping them. Like, that writer must have had some good coke, or artist, when he was putting this together. But it was like, it was bringing me into it. I like the kind of creepy vibe to that. Or with Spider-Man in this issue too, it's flipping back and forth between each page. Each page ends with a guy digging a grave deeper and deeper until the very end that Spider-Man shot and is in the grave. And so I really like how they did this a lot in these issues where it would just be one tiny little panel and then you go back to it in 2 pages and it was progressively leading into the final climax of the issue itself. So I like that touch.
Yeah, and I like the theme of imagery with that person digging the grave, and towards the end he was digging Kraven's grave, where in the beginning he
Yes.
was digging Spider-Man's grave, and then ends up
Yeah.
being Kraven's towards the end there. So that was really cool. Another thing I really liked, you're talking about him eating the spiders and all this weird mystical stuff. The idea of the like mystical side of Spider-Man, the totem of the spider, I think might have been introduced here, which was later expanded upon by J. Michael Straczynski with a very mystical spider, a mystical side of Spider-Man's powers.
Big spiders out here.
So when Peter's half dead, he's dreaming and he starts talking about weird things like, I am the spider, immortal, imperishable. And it just totally brought this mythological side to his powers. Like I said, JMS expanded on in his like more modern run, maybe early 2000s, but his powers are connected to some mystical spider creature. And that's what brings about that villain Moreland, who eats totems.
Okay.
So he goes after like the Panther, Black Panther, Spider-Man. He crawls across, he jumps universes to consume these totems. Like that's where you get the Spider-Verse story. But yeah, it is. And I wonder if that was introduced here. I don't know, but it was cool to see an early development of that side of Spider-Man's powers.
Yeah. Well, I do have to dock a point or two from this overall run, because unfortunately, them doing all of this writing with the mysticism of the spider and all that, it forced me to think about the movie Madam Web. And so that was a bummer. I kind of wish it didn't make me think of that. But
Still haven't
obviously,
seen
Madam Web. Oh my God, you haven't. Well, you need to just for the sake of
How
what
bad
the
it
hell
is.
happened there. Like, it's worth it. Just get inebriated in some fashion and watch it. It's hilarious, dude. Like,
Oh
Like one of the biggest moments, the villain gets hit by an ambulance, and it's because the ambulance drove through a parking garage and was like 15 feet above him, and Spider-Man jumps up and gets cracked from like just stuff like that. Anyways, we don't want to talk about that anymore here, but I did like that kind of aspect that they were bringing into the mystical spider issue or spider powers here. And I like, again, the symbolism. Like Kraven buries Spider-Man in the suit, and he doesn't take the mask off. And it's because you keep hearing Kraven say, like, he can't be human. There can't be a man under there. It has to be, in, you know, like you said, the mystical spider, that he's the spider. He's not a man. And so I feel like he left him in that suit because he didn't want to break that illusion. But then also, how did Kraven have his suit if he buried Spider-Man in the suit?
Oh,
does he have extra symbiote
I don't,
suits?
I don't exactly. That's ridiculous. But before he killed Spider-Man, it showed him digging into his closet, and he picked up a black Spider-Man suit, and it was really weird.
So he has multiple, then, huh?
I guess, but that's not a symbiote. In that case, it's just a suit. So that brings up the question, like, what's the difference of this? Did Spider-Man made a black suit? You know, it's supposed to just be symbiote. So that's got a darker point there too, because that's strange. You know,
plot hole.
A little plot hole. No explanation there, because he certainly didn't create a black suit ever, as far as I know.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe
so
Kraven
that
created
was
it.
interesting.
Maybe
he just sewed it up. He said, "That's a pretty cool suit."
He used the juices and herbs of like something that's black colored, like blackberries, and I don't know, created a suit. But
I don't know.
They did make a point. There was totally a thing where he picked up a black Spider-Man suit before he killed him. So
yeah. Andy in the chat says, "Don't sully your good podcast by saying the name Madam Web." Which, by the way, I do have to say, Andy did chime in when I said, "Andy, let me know." And he said, "I did say Project Hail Mary and that you've lost your mind." He said I didn't say it. He said, "Sorry, Dave,
positive.
you said Hail Mary."
You know what?
I still don't trust him either. I'm going back. Sorry, Andy. I don't know. I probably didn't.
No,
but I had to throw that out there. Andy proved me wrong, so I had to put it out in the pod.
Good. He came through though. We asked a question. We love
there you go. He's just legendary, that man.
He is.
So the second issue, I didn't think there's a lot to touch on. I mean, it's Mary Jane is frantic and she's wondering if Peter's dead, and she runs into the vermin. But during this issue, every page ended with a rat on top of Spider-Man's grave. And this was another thing where it kept being repeated imagery. And then towards the end, I think at the last issue, or right before the last one, Spider-Man's rising up to fight Kraven. No, it's when he's about to fight Vermin. We get an imagery of a spider that kept popping up in another issue, and that rat that was on the grave, and they I think the rat eats the spider on top of the grave or something like that. Like there's this whole imagery going through all these issues of these little panels they snuck in. But yeah, every page in this issue is a rat on Spider-Man's grave.
Interesting. Yeah, a lot of recurring themes. They took a lot of quotes out of like literature, like the whole fearful symmetry thing.
Disymmetry,
yeah, stuff like that. That was cool. But I guess the last thing I would say about it is I liked the part where he's trying to prove himself to being better than Spider-Man, and by beating Vermin, and then putting Spider-Man against Vermin, I thought that was interesting. And then I thought the action there was pretty cool. There wasn't a ton of action, but I thought the action was done really well. It was like pretty brutal, not brutal, but a little visceral. I really enjoyed the action, whether it was Spider-Man or Kraven as Spider-Man. They did a good job with the action. And then I guess the other last thing I'll say is I didn't really care for any of the screen time for Mary Jane or Vermin. I feel like they developed Vermin a little too much. You could have just kind of like explained the previous story, but he had quite, for a side character, he had quite a few pages where I'm just like, I really don't care what this guy's doing down in the sewers. But I guess they needed to do that he was a big part of the story. That was Kraven's proof that he was superior to Spider-Man.
And he was kind of used as a tool for Spider-Man to regain his humanity by the end of it, because he almost wanted to like kill him because he's killing people. He's dangerous. He has to be taken down. And they did a good job. I will say, I agree. There's a little too much Vermin, but they did do a good job at making him like a sympathetic character. Like you kind of feel bad. He's like, I just want to be left alone. They're going to hurt me. They're going to hurt me. I just want to be left alone down here. And by the end of it, we do get the touching kind of classic Spider-Man ending. He overcomes those angry thoughts, saves Vermin, and tells him he knows a man named Reed Richards who believes could help him. So I thought that was cool. And I thought it was interesting. We learned Vermin was created by Baron Zemo's experiments.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that too. Had no idea.
Yeah.
That's really strange. I wonder what that's about.
Very interesting. But I will agree, as a whole, a little too much Vermin. But I was surprised at how much I didn't mind this repetitive, broken, mentally type of human rat. So the only thing else I had to laugh at the Ned Leeds scene. They're dead, and Peter's tripping, and Ned's like, "Hey, Spider-Man." He's like, "Wait, you're dead." Ned says, "Oh my God, he's right." This Ned Leeds was a little skinnier and a little bit less Filipino than the Ned Leeds we know in the MCU now. Slightly different.
Oh, that's Ned.
But
that's the same
That's
Ned?
Ned Leeds. That's the same one. Yeah,
Whoa.
from Tom Holland's best friend in the MCU.
Wait,
there.
that's not the guy who becomes Hobgoblin, is it?
Yeah, it is. That's
No
so. There's
way.
been rumors. Maybe are they gonna turn this? I think what's his name, Jacob. I forgot his last name, but there were people were theorizing, is he going to be the Hobgoblin, or
Yeah, there's no
what are
way.
they doing with him here? Yeah, I don't think so either.
It was
but-
more of an Easter egg that Andrew, or he was talking to one of the other Spider-Man, and he was like, "Yeah, I ended up having to, beat up my friend," and he was like, "I promise, I'm not going to become a villain and fight you," or whatever that was.
I swear I will not become a villain and try to kill you.
Yeah.
And then the second to last issue, again, Kraven has Spider-Man fight Vermin to prove he's the best, yada yada. He proves it. He tells Spider-Man, "I promise I will never hunt again." He goes, "All right." He leaves him, and then we see Kraven return to his home, load a rifle, and shoot himself in the head. Like, I didn't see Kraven killing himself at the end of this. Not even the end, the 5th out of the 6 issues. So that one caught me off guard. I thought that was a pretty wild way to end an issue. That had to have been crazy when this issue was coming out in real time. They just had Kraven kill himself like that, and he didn't return for 20-something years in comics again. That's wild.
Yeah, you gotta wonder if they explained that. Like, why did he come back? Other than this, there's not a single good Kraven comic that I remember. There's one called Grim Hunt, written by J.M. Detius, that I wasn't a huge fan of. But yeah, he's due for a modern story. Give us what we want. Show us him hunting Spider-Man, slinging across the skyscrapers, Spider-Man dodging bullets, and this dude, he's trying to find where the bullets are coming from and go attack him. He could use something. He's getting a movie before, a new updated Marvel good comic. But, people die in comics. They come back all the time.
So that pretty much wraps it up. I mean, like you said, it ends with Kraven in the grave. So it paralleled that imagery of Spider-Man at the start of all this. But my last thoughts as a whole on this run, it honestly made me, which is weird because it wasn't how I thought they would do Kraven, but it made me respect Kraven as a character in a way, because he's shown to have this rock solid code. He has a set of rules. He abides by them. It's about respect. It's about honor. And he gave his word once he, proved whatever he needed to with Spider-Man there. But I just like the way he was written. He writes a confession at the end of this issue and clears Spider-Man's name.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it truly was all about him proving to himself that he's the best hunter. It wasn't personal. So I liked it. I think it makes me really curious about how they're going to portray him in the movie. He was psychotic at times, but he was an interesting kind of anti-hero in this. And in the movie, they've written him as like an environmentalist. He's hunting poachers. So I think he's going to face conflict, but overall be an anti-hero with a code who you can respect by the end of it. But yeah, in a weird way, it made me like the Kraven character more. I didn't know a lot about him, so it makes me want to go check out, some more issues with him. So I think overall, I would put this as an 8 or so as a rating. I enjoyed it for a 6-issue run.
For sure. Yeah, mid-7s for me, and mostly because of the uniqueness. I liked the dark tone of the story. I liked how different it was. I liked the introspection. I really liked the introspection of this with the psychology, and like you said, the duality of all the characters. That was a good point. One thing about the movie, this kind of stuff usually goes in our Week in Geek, but the director of the movie, real quick, let's see what you think of this. He says that, speaking with comicbook.com, the director said, "I don't want to get too into the nitty-gritty of it, but here's what I would say. For me as a filmmaker, my number one goal, especially quite frankly over the last couple of years, where you guys are deep into this world, some of the fans out there a lot of fans are upset with the certain decisions and outcomes of the Sony Spider-Man universe. And then he said, with other films, they've gone to tremendous success. So there's been a mixed success rate. And he says, I just want people to give us a chance. Come out and support this film and literally try to wash away some of the other stuff that's happened to give our film a chance. So, I kind of like that. He's addressing the pretty much 50%, probably 70% failure rate of the SSU, a weird universe full of Spider-Man villains, but no Spider-Man. Like Venom 1 has been really good. Other than that, Madam Web came out. Venom 2 and 3 are okay. What else? So I like that he addressed it. And you can't just say this is a Sony Spider-Man SSU film, as they're calling it nowadays. It's all about the writers and directors. They have a different movie. It's not like the SSU is the writer and director of all these movies. I think this could very well be good. I think they committed to the rated R platform. I'm really excited to see a bunch of animal poachers get brutally murdered. And I am, what do you think? All right, over under 60%, this is as good as Venom 1.
Like a 60% chance over under if it's as good as Venom 1?
Yeah.
I'd probably say under. I'd say there's maybe a 50% chance that it... And Venom 1's not amazing in my mind, but I enjoyed it for the most part. I thought as far as a plot, it was pretty weak. It was fun to see Venom finally brought looking good on the big screen. I like Tom Hardy for most of it. So I think Venom 1's by far the best of the trilogy. I didn't think Venom 3 was very good. Venom 2 was a blown opportunity. So, but 50% is the highest number I'd say that I'd feel it beats out Venom 1.
Okay. I would go over. I think
okay.
Mostly because it's rated R. That's full commitment to violence and violence towards animal poachers. I think that's cool. I think they're almost focusing a lot on like the action side of things. I think the character seems really interesting. And you got like people like Russell Crowe as his dad. And like just the fact that so many of them have been bad. I think this one's going to be good.
Well, so I think it has a better chance also because it's a cool story that doesn't have to have ties to Spider-Man. I think Venom needs to have a tie to Spider-Man.
True. And
the story doesn't fully come to its potential without Spider-Man in it. Morbius, just stupid. They just shouldn't have done that. But who cares about Morbius outside of the Spider-Man universe? Just make a Blade movie if that's what you're going for. I don't know. Awful, though. Who cares about Madam Web if it's not Spider-Man related? So I think at least Kraven, this story could be told without a Spider-Man connection. You know, maybe he gets weird powers from lion's blood or whatever the hell the trailer was showing there.
Oh, that
maybe
was
not.
Dumb. That was dumb.
But him hunting poachers and having this background with his Russian father who has these deep ties to the Russian underground and all this stuff that's going on. Like, I think it could be cool. I like a lot of the stuff Aaron Taylor Johnson is in. So that's kind of the reason why it seems like he had fun making it. It seems like you said, coming from the director there. So I wouldn't say I'm like, yeah, this is going to be great. But I'm like, well, maybe it won't suck, actually. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
And Andy said, if Kraven is better than Venom, I would be very surprised. You have to go on Sony's history, which mostly sucks, which is kind of opposite of what you just said regarding you don't have to go on Sony's history because it's not all Sony, which I'll say to an extent, it's Sony, I guess, not taking the time and care to maybe give them the resources they need to tell a good story and to create a good film. I don't know what it is. I just know that they're batting pretty much 1 for 6 for me. Yeah. 1 for 5. But
is it 5 films already? Yeah, 3.
Well, 3 Venom, Madam Web, and Morbius. Yeah.
1 for 5.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I think Venom got decent ratings. I don't really want to go to Rotten Tomatoes because I hate them, but no, sure didn't. 30%. No, there you go. 30% critic and 80% audience for Venom 1.
Interesting. It's just because the character. People love the character.
Yeah, and critics, don't like superhero stuff. So again, critics on Rotten Tomatoes, I could care less. 58% for Let There Be Carnage, 84 audience. So Let There Be Carnage got better.
Weird.
Which is surprising to me. And The Last Dance got 40%. audience, 81%, or sorry, 40% critic, 81% audience. So all three Venoms got above 80% on audience.
I still like
but
Last Dance
Rotten
better than the
Tomatoes.
Carnage movie.
Yeah?
A little more. Neither of them are great. I don't really want to rewatch either of them, maybe ever.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we'll see with Kraven. We'll see what they bring us, you know. All right. Well, do you have any other final thoughts on the run before we head out of here, or Kraven in general?
That's it.
All right. Well, that'll wrap it up here for us. Thank you for joining us here tonight, covering Kraven's Last Hunt. 6-issue run let out in 1987. Go check it out if you're kind of interested in somewhat of a Black Spider-Man, but more of like dualities and people dealing with mental conflicts and some acid trippy type panels. But it's pretty good. So I just, again, keep in mind that Spider-Man's not in it a ton, and you'll be all right. But I'm glad we covered it. It was interesting. It made me think more about Kraven as a character. So I'm gonna look more into that a little bit down the road here. So next we will be covering. Well, we'll be talking about Dune coming up here, and then I guess I don't know what our next major thing is. Daredevil's dropping into March. Oh my God, I almost just
got some time.
psyched myself up for no reason. Yeah, we'll be doing creative stuff. We've talked about it in the past with other episodes. We got some top 5 stuff we're thinking. We got some more just branching out from covering specific projects and just letting our nerd minds run wild. So be sure to tune in, follow us on our socials, check out our merch store. We got a bunch of cool stuff on there. Go get you a shirt, go get you a coffee mug, whatever you want. And thank you again. We'll see you next time on Why So Sidious, a nerd podcast. Boom.
Sweet. Did you pause uploads or did they upload? Oh, they're uploaded.
No, I didn't. Yeah, it was running.
I'm gonna try to drop this like tonight or tomorrow morning. The wig part.
Okay. If you want me to do Kraven, then that I can do that.
They're both short. I don't mind doing it.
Yeah. Word. I'm at 78%, so yeah, hopefully it should be done here pretty soon.
Nice.
But I'll let it upload. I'll check in on it. Yeah, no, that was good. It was a good time.
Hell yeah.
Real quick, what's the next comic we're reading? Is it
I don't know. Maybe